Valley Talk on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
And welcome to Valley Talk. Glad to have you with us today, this Wednesday, this pre-Thanksgiving day. Glad you are with us today. We have a full show for you today. By the way, we talked to Marie Novak just a moment ago. We'll give you an update on where we are as far as the free dinner that they've done to the community as a way of giving thanks and a way of helping people who otherwise would not have a good dinner. They're going to be having 2 meals tomorrow at noon, and then another serving at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They're full for the noon serving, but they are still taking reservations for 1. They'll serve until the food runs out. They served 400 last year, and they're expecting more this year. Marie says that a lot of older folks and a lot of families this year are coming in because of the depressed economic times. Are struggling and really need the food there. They initially started this 20 years ago at their old location as a way to reaching out to people, especially students who were, not at home for the holidays, and now they're noticing that more families are getting involved. A program note, we're going to be there streaming live video from Novak's restaurant. You'll be able to watch that at KGAL.com and kshow.net, and also the video is being supplied by the Jesus Network, and you'll be able to see it on their website as well, which I operate, TJN. And the website for that is thejesusnetwork.net. So the 3 videos you'll be able to see, the Novak video from live tomorrow from the restaurant, are kshow.net, kgal.com, and thejesusnetwork.net. And thank you publicly to Novak's for doing that. They've been doing it for 20 years. It's amazing, the volunteers and the people that donate the food, and the Novak's for opening up their restaurant and giving back to the community. So hats off to them. So thank you for doing that. On the show today, Sharon Konopa, newly re-elected mayor for Albany, is in the studio. We're going to be talking to Sharon at length in the show. Also, Hasso Herring, formerly with the Albany Democrat Herald, is with us and helping out with Valley Talks. His commentaries continue. We're really glad to have Hasso in the studio as we're going to be talking about things involving City of Albany. We'll be doing that here in just a moment. On the phone line, we have Marie Dodds with AAA Oregon. We're going to be talking about gas prices with Marie. So, Marie, hang on just a second. We'll be right with you. We do want to remind you also to speaking of food, to make sure you sign up for the Quiznos Taste on Us. We're giving away a $10 gift certificate to Quiznos. Simply submit an entry to my email address, dave@kgal.com. Put Quiznos Taste on Us on the subject line, or give us a call at 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL. And at the end of the show, we'll hopefully draw your name, and you'll get a $10 gift certificate good at Quiznos. The Albany location only, next to the former G.I. Joe's location, and, of course, next to Novak's restaurant. We'll be there tomorrow morning. We just told you about that. So get it in, and hopefully you'll win some food from Quiznos today. And thank you for listening to Valley Talk. Marie Dodds with AAA. Marie, happy pre-Thanksgiving to you.
Yeah, same to you, Dave. Good morning.
Good morning. So what's going on? What's going on with gas prices?
The good news is gas prices are down 47 cents in the last month. So that is welcome relief for Turkey Day travelers. And this year we're seeing almost 44 million of us nationwide and more than 7 million of us here in the West going over the river and through the woods for Thanksgiving travel. And so that's really good news for consumers. The Oregon average is just above $3.50 a gallon. We haven't been this low since mid-February of this year.
That's something to be thankful for. I was just down at Costco, and it's $3.39 there, so it's nice to see it heading down. We're hearing in the news today there's a ceasefire been announced by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, but there's still a lot of unrest in the Middle East. What's that doing to the price at the pump?
We have seen crude oil prices go up a few bucks in response to violence in the Middle East and the outbreak of violence in the Gaza Strip. And this is a situation that no doubt we will have to watch long term. And anytime there is violence in the Middle East, it does put upward pressure on crude oil prices. And in this case, of course, neither Israel nor Palestine is a major oil producer, but any kind of geopolitical uncertainty in the Middle East does put upward pressure on prices. So this is going to be a situation we'll have to watch. Now, looking at crude prices today, because of the settlement that has been announced, we've seen crude oil prices go back down a couple of bucks. At last check, crude was around $87 a barrel, and it did get as high as $89 a barrel just a few days ago when the violence was breaking out.
If the situation stays the same, where things are fairly stable in the Middle East, if you can use that term, we're talking about that country at any point in their history, what do we expect gas prices to do? What does your crystal ball say?
You know, the crystal ball says that barring unforeseen events, we should see prices continue to drop, and that's because we are in a period of lower demand, with the exception of the Thanksgiving holiday travel and, of course, the Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year holiday travel periods. But we are in a period of lower demand because we are in the fall and winter, and the switchover has occurred to the less expensive winter blends of fuel. So because of that, I think prices will continue to drop. Our national average is currently around $3.42 a gallon. That could go down to the $3.20 range by the end of the year. And, of course, here in Oregon, our statewide average is just above $3.50 a gallon. We could get in the, $3.30, $3.40 range for a statewide average. And, of course, as you pointed out, you can always find gas for less if you shop around a bit. But I always like to say barring unforeseen events, because if we do get hit with more violence in the Middle East or something else that puts upward pressure on the prices, at that point we have to look and reevaluate.
This is great news for retailers, because it means consumers are going to have a little bit more jingle in their pocket to spend on holiday gift giving.
It really does. It's good news, because as we've talked before, every dollar that you have to spend on gas is a dollar that you don't have to spend on other things. And I think having gas prices go down this time of year, a drop of 47 cents here in Oregon in the last month, that's really good news for holiday shoppers. And, of course, we have Black Friday coming up this week, the kickoff to the holiday shopping season. And so it really comes at a good time for consumers. Not that there's ever a good time for gas prices to go up, but when you have other expenses like you do during the holidays, it's really nice to have, as you say, a little extra jingle in your pocket for gifts and other holiday expenses.
Well, Marie, you have a good holiday. Thanksgiving coming up. Thank you for talking to us again. We'll be visiting with you as time goes on and see what's going on at the pump.
You too, Dave. Thank you, and I hope you and your listeners all have a safe and happy Thanksgiving and safe travels. Okay,
thank you. Marie Dodds, Oregon AAA, thank you for joining us today on Valley Talk. Sharon Konopa, go ahead and pull that microphone just a little bit closer to you. We were talking, Hasso Herring is in the studios as well. Hasso, thanks for being with us. We were talking about gas prices a few years back when you were in, was it high school?
Actually, probably middle school. Middle school to about high school.
And gas was 25 cents a gallon.
I remember my dad's gas station, and I remember it was on Pacific Boulevard, which is still there, but not as a gas station. And so that he got that in '69. So it was early '70s, and it was $24.9. So I remember.
Well, the minimum wage was $1.25.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
It wasn't all that cheap.
Well, I know. I think when I first started working for my dad, it was 75 cents an hour. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So times have changed.
Yes.
Let's talk about the city of Albany. First of all, congratulations for being reelected.
Thank you.
What are you hearing from the voters? Are the elections over? You're back in office. There was some concern. Some critics of the city were saying that the city was not being fiscally responsible, was going into too much debt. There was an effort to try to put a limitation on the debt load the city could incur. Voters sided with the city in that one and rejected those measures. Your response to that, first of all?
Well, the measures are actually going to be on the March ballot.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Yeah, so they haven't, they received enough signatures to be put on the March ballot. But for the council elections, we have one new councilor coming on because that was a vacated seat from Councilor Chrisman. And but the rest of the council was reelected, so the existing council members. So we do hear, there's, kind of folks that aren't pleased with, say, local government. I've always seen that happen with any election. This was my 6th election that I've been through. But the council, everybody did prevail in their elections. So we're fortunate compared to some communities. Some communities did not. So,
Also, do you have a question?
Well, Dave just talked about this question of debt, and it is something that has been cropping up lately for some reason in Albany, even though the debt is not particularly unusual, and in fact it is relatively low in terms of general obligation debt. Mm-hmm. Explain that a little bit, if you would, Mayor.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, that is something was even a hot topic back in 2010 election. And it was more, to me, I think it came from the national, is wanting to more reduce the debt at the national level. And that kind of effort kind of filtered down to the local level, because that was a big concern that I heard in 2010. So then in 2011, that sort of sparked, we had a few people that didn't like the debt, and that's where they came up with the initiative for the Limit the City Debt. But no, you're correct, we are lower, for community our size with our general obligation bonding debt. Most of our debt that we have is with our sewer and wastewater treatment plant. The debt has been decreasing. We are always, paying on the debt, and so the levels even from a year ago have decreased. But we're no different than any kind of community across the nation. But
I mean, wasn't it a fact, for example, that the city was forced to borrow a lot of money from the state revolving fund in order to expand and renovate the sewage treatment plant?
Exactly.
Didn't really have any choice about that.
Right, exactly. So we had to bring it up into compliance, and so we had to do that investment. But it will, it makes us more secure for the future too.
And what is the other part of the biggest part, or the second biggest part of the city's utility debt has to do with the construction of a new water treatment plant that expanded the city's ability to supply clean water from the Santiam River. Isn't that correct?
Right. And it was more of an efficient plant also, and it gave us a second source. And because we didn't have the long-term capacity off of our Vine Street, water treatment plant. And so we knew for the future we needed to be able to expand, and that's where we got the second source of the newer treatment plant off the Santiam River. So our Vine Street plant comes from the Santiam River, but it goes down the canal, the Albany-Lebanon Canal.
We were talking, Mayor, a little while ago about the kinds of things that occupied the city government over the last couple of years. One of them having to do with the dog named Blue, which has been out of the news now for about a year. But looking ahead to, say, 2013, the year coming up, what is it that you have planned?
Well, I was kind of telling you, it seems like since I've been mayor for the 4 years, it's been kind of a reactive mode instead of proactive. We had to deal with 2010 was how we were going to spend the Pepsi money, and 2011, like you said, was Blue really consumed a lot of our time, and this past year has been having to react to the initiatives, the ballot initiatives that had been circulating. The first quarter of 2013 will still be dealing with the ballot measures. So those will be on the ballot March 13th. So I'm hoping once we get past that, we can really be able to get our focus and be more proactive, for city services, and really focus on the great things we have in Albany instead of reacting to some of the negative stuff.
Well, talk for a second about that election in March. Two ballot measures on the ballot. One of them would limit the city's debt, so-called, to a certain amount back in February. And the other one would prevent, without an election, changes in the urban renewal plan. Supposing these measures pass, what would be the effect?
For the effect on the urban renewal one, really doesn't touch care of the existing urban renewal for our downtown revitalization, the way that measure was written up. So we would have to do substantial changes to that ballot measure, then go to the voters for that. If we keep the existing plan as is, that includes the projects that are identified in that plan, as some critics don't like the promenade that we're calling Broad Albany Street, sidewalk widening project. But it keeps its existing. It really doesn't touch that, the existing CARA plan. But for any new urban renewal districts, we don't have any currently, in the works to be formed. But say when Pepsi was coming in, that was an urban renewal district, and that was to be able to fund that overpass. If we didn't have that tool for economic development, Pepsi wouldn't wait around or any big industry or any employer wouldn't wait around to be subject to the voters' approval for them to secure a location where they would want to build.
That might not be the best example to keep citing, because after all, that didn't come about. It was a big bust.
Right. But we still have, if we're going to, that's our big employment land, is in that South Albany area, close to the, LBCC, around that area. And in order to be able to develop that area is going to take an overpass, because the railroad is not going to allow us to have more connections, street connections going over the railroad. That is our only tool to be able to, be able to fund for an overpass. It's either that or a local improvement district. But the way the limit city debt measure is up, if we formed a local improvement district, we'd have to go to the voters. The local improvement district is one that only the neighboring property owners pay for, but the city floats the bond, so we would carry the debt, but the taxpayers of Albany wouldn't be paying for that bond. It would be the neighboring property owners. So, which is unfortunate the way that limit city debt was written up, because that would include local improvement districts. So we say the Lowe's for coming in was a local improvement district. Timber Ridge School was local improvement district. So there's the way, so we would end up having to go to the voters just for local improvement district. But the way it was written up is very subjective over for if it's going to be a supermajority.
Well, Mayor, the measure does it define debt?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So what makes you say that it includes those kinds of instruments like local improvement districts?
Right. That is one part. That would be a debt, but yet it's not defined, and that's where we're questioning, would even our payroll to the city be considered a debt because it's a contractual debt? Would also our police vehicle leases be considered a debt? And so would we have to go to the voters for all of that? If that measure passes, I'm pretty sure it's going to be contested over the validity of that measure, because the way debt was not defined in that measure on that.
What would you say, Mayor, excuse me for interrupting, but what would you say to the people that are proposing this measure and they're looking at stories in the news about counties and cities across the United States that are going into bankruptcy to try to get rid of some of this debt, that there's a real problem with municipalities with good intention? I guess eventually the PERS system might be in this discussion, but not for today. That they're having to declare bankruptcy in order to get out from underneath this debt. Greece, as a nation, is having serious debt issues.
Yeah.
And so we as a country, as the United States, our national debt is off the scale. They're just very concerned about debt and being in as little debt as possible because of the economic future is so uncertain.
Well, we don't currently have any projects on our plate that would be increasing our debt. So there's nothing right now that would be on our plate. The local improvement district is just something that would take place if a big employer came in, and that was more of a financing tool for that infrastructure. Albany, I feel very confident for where we're at. We are in probably one of the best financial shapes of any city in the state. So, and one piece of that is because we have a hefty reserve, which is because of the Pepsi proceeds that we received. So most cities do not have that little reserve money just for in case you needed it for emergencies. So we actually are in great shape, which I feel good about that. So I would not worry about the city even having to worry about anything of a bankruptcy. We are really in solid condition.
Mayor, speaking of that Pepsi reserve money, it's about it began as being about $18 million, and I think roughly $9 or $10 million is left after some obligations have been incurred. You mentioned earlier the idea that in order to develop the big industrial site south of Albany on the south side, a big overpass and road needs to be constructed across the Southern Pacific tracks. Why wasn't some of that Pepsi money used, in fact all of it, used to do just that?
That could have been, but the council had decided that the land has been there for over 20 years, as industrial land. Pepsi was the first industry to even attempt to come in. Do we put in the infrastructure and then in hopes that industry would come in? Is that the best resource for those funds, because is it going to sit for 20 years? So that's where the council's looked at what would be the best use for those funds. So we do have the $5 million of it is sitting in the one fund for economic development. So it could be contributed to that. But that whole project for an overpass is around 18 million, so it would have taken. But there's also to look at is neighboring properties. That area benefits also over that improvements. So for there, shouldn't they be contributing to part of that for those improvements? So there's kind of that overall area to look at. Who would benefit over that overpass, and what contribution should that area be able to contribute to those costs? So
we're going to need to take a break here. Excuse me for interrupting. We can continue the line of questioning here in a minute. We're running a little bit behind on break. We'll take a break here on Valley Talk and be right back. Don't forget to sign up for Quiznos Taste on Us, and you can send me an email, dave@kgal.com, or call KGAL at 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL. It is Taste on Us. At the end of the show, we'll be giving away a $10 gift certificate for Quiznos. So thanks to Dale and the crew for being a part of Valley Talk. We will continue with Mayor Sharon Konopa for the City of Albany and Hasso Herring in the studio here in just a moment.
Hello, this is Leo Smith of Edward Jones. Is your broker giving you the cold shoulder? At Edward Jones, the level of service we provide is based on your personal needs and preferences, not on the size of your investment portfolio. Whether you're starting an investment plan or have accumulated a sizable portfolio, Edward Jones can help. We provide highly individualized face-to-face service to each investor who chooses to do business with me. If this unique type of service appeals to you, call me today at 451-4402. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Northwest Investment Management, Inc., your local real estate management company, was incorporated by Rex Watkins in 1997. Rex has been an Oregon real estate property manager for 25 years, and his goal at Northwest Investment Management is to reduce your burden of property ownership. Fair fees, quality service, and attention to detail serves both the property owner and the tenant. Residential, commercial, and industrial. Call Northwest Investment Management now, 541-928-6257. Log on to MidValleyRentals.com, licensed and complying with all federal, state, and local fair housing laws.
I'm going to have a great Christmas, but this year I'll have to really stretch my budget. I'm keeping it simple by shopping at the cutest little jewelry store in the area, Mid-Valley Gems and Jewelry. They'll even wrap my gifts for free. Lovely estate items, distinctive designer pieces, always some great sale items, and their prices and quality are always better than the chain stores. For the collectors on your list, 2012 proof sets and silver dollars. Collectible Christmas coins, too. Coin collector supplies and starter kits, stocking stuffers from under $10. Smart shoppers know where to buy fine jewelry and gifts for less now and anytime. So, if you were thinking jewelry is too expensive for your gift list, think again. Let Mid-Valley Gems and Jewelry make this Christmas the best ever. Mid-Valley Gems and Jewelry on Pacific, just down from Wendy's in Albany.
Let yours be the first holiday gift received and the wow gift that gets the oohs and ahs. Specializing in corporate gifting, Burley's Fancies will include your company colors and on-hand promotional items in the design. Ask about your free personalization options. Call now, 541-928-7808, 928-7808, or online at burleysfancies.com. Order early for best selection. You can't go wrong with Designed to Impress gift baskets by Burley's Fancies this holiday season. David Lyon, owner of Lyon Lawn Care and Regrowth Bonsai Nursery, does the lion's share of his work right here in the Mid-Willamette Valley, removing brittle branches from your trees, pruning and training your shrubs, applying bark dust, rock, or dirt, and removing those dangerous, slippery leaves off your rain gutters or drains, preventing possible accidents and flooding. Lyon Lawn Care, providing a safe and manicured yard just in time for family and friends for the holidays. And you won't have to lift a finger. Call David now at 541-980-3966, 980-3966. Log on to lionlawncare.net.
Radio for the Mid-Valley's horse lovers, The Horse Show with Rick Lamb, Sunday mornings at 9 on Smart Talk 1580.
This is KGAL Valley Talk. I'm Dave Adams, and in the studio with us is Sharon Konopa, Mayor of the City of Albany. Again, congratulations on your re-election. And Hasso Herring is also in with us here at the studio today, formerly with the Albany Democrat Herald. Hasso, it's always great to have you in the studio.
Well, glad to be here, as always.
And I interrupted your line of questioning there, but we had to take a break. We're running a little bit late on that. Do you want to continue with that and pick up?
If I could remember what I was talking about, I would. But we were talking about some of the money, or the money that the city gained as a result of a settlement with the Pepsi company when that company decided not to build a Gatorade plant in Albany about 3 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago now, I think. In any case, part of the plan at the time, when this came about in 2011, I think, was to set aside some of the money, or use some of the money to build a new police station and perhaps a new fire hall downtown. The city had bought some land for the police station on Pacific Boulevard, but then after a lot of discussion, if you look at that site now, it's just as vacant as it was 2 or 3 years ago when the city bought it. So what happened, Mayor?
Well, we still have the land, and it is still in our future plan to have a new police station built there. And also, we do need to still redo Station 11, the fire station downtown. So some of the Pepsi proceeds was kind of set aside, about $5 million also for, capital, for facilities. And so that still is in the plan. We have not really visited that topic now for probably over a year, and a lot of it has been because of these initiatives that have been out there and kind of the unknown with them. So we probably will have that conversation coming up in 2013. We have decreased in staffing levels, some in the police department, so it's not as bursting at the seams of that department as it was. But they do need to have a new facility. That is, they have literally outgrown that facility, and that's something that, as a city council, we need to be looking out for all of our, city facilities and look for what needs to be done for expansion. So we'll be having that conversation next year.
Do you get the feeling that some of that money has been sort of slowly frittered away over time in little projects here and there? Not really, because really the only thing out of the economic development piece that we spent some money out of was for the HARP program, and then we just gave a loan for the distillery brewery for downtown, and that is with a loan. So we have, I don't feel, out of $5 million, it's barely been touched. We did have one of our local industries that was looking at getting a loan out of it, but that has gone away. So we still have that there as that tool to be able to assist, Speaking of that small little distillery and brewery that had been announced on the riverfront, what's the latest on that, Mayor?
Still moving forward. They're looking at trying to find the equipment for it right now. So, but no, they're still proceeding, and they're waiting for the licensing to be done. Yeah.
Talking again about next year, besides resuming discussions about a new police station, perhaps headquarters, what else is on your agenda for having for some sort of an accomplishment that you might shoot for?
Well, hopefully, this morning we had our Albany-Millersburg Economic Development Corporation meeting, and there is quite a bit of activity taking place with some economic development, which was very encouraging to hear that. Monday, I had a meeting that the state convened, and it was over housing. And the state was telling us that it looks like for jobs for our region, to plan for the future would be more in hospitality and service jobs, and that we need to be providing the housing more for some lower income housing to look at that for the future. Well, several of us were like, wait a minute, that's not really our goal. We do want to be able to provide more family wage jobs, and that should be our main focus, is family wage jobs, and not just only be reacting to jobs that are not family wage. We told the state that, we will look at that for housing, but we still want our main focus to be more for family wage jobs, because in other words, if you only are going to have a focus of non-family wage jobs, you're not going to be able to have the funds to support, public services. What this meeting was, is they want to ask the local regions what the priority would be for dispersing the housing tax credits. And so I conveyed to them that what we see more in Albany would be for more workforce housing, and to make that as a priority. Woodland Square, remember that when that project came forward and it was denied by the state because on their priority list there was not anything identifying for workforce housing, so they could not even consider that project. But by having that as a priority, then they could consider that. And also I told them, instead of housing that is for just providing for low-income housing, is also look at for life skills housing. So we need to really be able to work with a lot of the folks that are, recipients of vouchers.
Well, the main issue always is around here, and has been for a long time, jobs and the lack of them. The latest unemployment figures still show Lynn County as being 10 to 11% unemployed. And there are obviously some limits as to what a city government can do about that situation. But is there anything, Mayor, that the city could do in a concrete kind of way to accelerate the creation of some private sector jobs in this area?
That's always a challenging piece for all cities. So a lot of it is, we don't own the land, to be able to build on. It's just working with the region and working with the business sector and also with our economic development folks. And as we do with the state, and all working together, that when those opportunities are there, how can we assist? How can we fast track that? So I did form the Business Ready Task Force, and we just have finalized our recommendations. That'll be going to the council and the planning commission, and that will really help on a lot of non-conforming type businesses, buildings that are already that are existing. So it's going to be able to assist in some of that. So we're out there proactive. There's not you can't force a business to open up. So we're always out there looking for those opportunities, and we're there ready for whenever there is that opportunity.
Well, one of the things that occasionally comes up, and I don't even know how true it is, but that there are, not just here, but generally, that there is an array of government regulations that prevent or discourage people from starting up certain things. Now, you mentioned your Business Ready Task Force that looked at some of these things. Can you give us a couple of examples of recommendations that this task force is making on how to streamline things or get rid of something that is an obstacle?
Some of it is through the planning process, and that would be where it's kind of more streamlining it and with the planning department and not having as many layers. Also with the big hindrance they found was some buildings that had been empty for a few years. Then they were non-conforming in that zoning or that use. And so what we've done is now we're going to kind of restart the clock, that once we get these new changes in, then they have, I think it's going to be up to a few years, they can still be non-conforming and be able to get somebody into those buildings. And a lot of it has to do with parking lot upgrades or certain building codes, things like that.
Are you saying that the group is recommending a relaxation of some of these rules?
It is, yeah. And some of it is basically streamlining it more, not having as many layers towards it. So there's quite a few recommendations going forward. They have to do some with signs, parking lots, landscapings, things like that on businesses. But what really surprised me is when I formed this task force, I kind of got out there and said, bring it on. If you got an issue and if you don't think the city of Albany is basically business friendly, then we want to know about it. And I thought, oh no, I think staff was worried that I stated that because it's like we're going to just get inundated with all kinds of stuff for changes. We really didn't. I was really surprised, but at least we opened the door up to folks that don't think we're business friendly and bring it on. So we wanted to tackle it, and that we did. So I was pleased that we didn't have as much concerns.
And these recommendations are going to the city council when?
Do we have it scheduled for? Is it next month or January? And it's going to be with the Planning Commission and Council together with the task force. And then what I've recommended, if those three bodies find, or the council and the planning commission find changes, then it goes back to the task force to tackle it, refine it, then go back to Planning Commission. I don't like to form a task force, make recommendations to, Planning Commission or Council, then they totally, change things that the task force worked a long time on. So I think this way we can, if there is any changes at the higher level, go back to the task force to work on it.
We need to take a break right now, and we'll continue this line of questioning here in just a moment as we talk to Mayor Sharon Konopa of the City of Albany, and of course also Herring in the studio with us in Valley Talk. We'll be right back.
Okay.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by Stamps.com. Save time, trouble, and money by buying and printing official U.S. postage with your own computer and printer. In a moment, a special offer just for you. This is Charles Osgood. Being a doctor in this country once meant doing what Dr. Russell Donor does now. Here's our CBS News colleague, Dean Reynolds.
Just off the town square of Rushville, Illinois, population 3,300, is the office of Dr. Russell Donor, age 87.
I came here in 1955, I believe it was. There was a doctor that was here by himself, and so we came here, except all of a sudden he left.
Dr. Donor charged $2 a visit then.
You need some medicine, don't you?
He pushed it up to $3 in the 60s, and in a bow to inflation, raised it to $5 a few decades later and left it there.
The story after this. Let's say you run a business, or you work from home, or you sell items online, and you don't have time to keep running to the post office. Just do what I do. Use Stamps.com instead. You'll never have to go to the post office again, no matter what you're sending. With Stamps.com, you can buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter or package using your own computer and printer. There's no guesswork. Stamps.com will give you a free digital scale that calculates the exact postage you need. We love Stamps.com. I've used it in my office for years now. It saves me so much time and hassle. And I'm not alone. Stamps.com users have sent 2 billion letters and packages. Right now, Stamps.com has a special offer for you Osgood File listeners. It's a no-risk trial plus a $110 bonus that includes that digital scale and up to $55 in free postage. So don't wait. Go to Stamps.com, and before you do anything else, click on the radio microphone at the top of the home page and type in Osgood, O-S-G-O-O-D. That's Stamps.com and enter Osgood. You may have wondered, as Dean Reynolds was talking about Dr. Russell Donor, how he could afford to charge his patients so little.
Most of his income comes not from medicine, but from his share in a family farm.
Do you ever dig into your own pocket to help people who need medical care?
Oh, yes, occasionally. We'll be sure to take care of whatever comes. Always have, anyway.
His office is cluttered. Patients wait their turn. There are no appointments. There are no computers either. No copiers, but lots of cards, rotary phones,
Dr. Owners,
and his 2 80-something assistants, Edie and Rose.
As for the patients,
oh, we love him here. We don't know what we'd do without him. This man knows what he's doing.
He still makes house calls, still makes his rounds at the local hospital.
Dr. Russell Donor told Dean Reynolds he can't remember the last time he took some time off.
If there's something that I can do for people, that's what I'm here for. It's always been the way it was.
Was, is, and will be for as long as he is able.
The Osgood File. Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
There are lots of styling salons in town, so how do you choose where to go? Are you quite particular about your look? The Cutting Room in Albany is a progressive salon that offers the finest in hair care and extensive selection of quality styling products. Do you want your nails to look their best? How about getting your eyebrows waxed? The Cutting Room professionals strive for excellence with every client, so drop in across from Pops on Pacific or call for appointment at 541-928-0811.
Are you looking for work you can enjoy? Do you want to earn a respectable living? Are you self-motivated, energetic, and hardworking? Then you may be the man or woman we're looking for. Own your own Mountain Man business franchise. At Mountain Man, we offer success training, flexible schedules, exclusive territories, existing or a new client base, and income potential $25,000 to $50,000 per year. This is a franchise opportunity for a person who wants a career and business they can own, not just a job. Join our Mountain Man team and stand tall as a Mountain Man or woman business owner. Current franchise opportunities are available in North Medford, Eugene, Woodburn, Central Point, and the greater Portland area. Call Tom Reddy at 503-393-3136 or email mtnmanoregon@gmail.com. For more details on owning your own Mountain Man business, call Tom at 503-393-3136. That's 503-393-3136.
Beyond the Beltway with Bruce Dumont. Sunday afternoons on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
This is Valley Talk. Glad to have you with us today. Don't forget to sign up for Quiznos Taste on Us. Simply send an email to dave@kgal.com or give us a call at 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL. Say you want to put on the Quiznos Taste on Us drawing. We'll be doing that at the end of the show in 15 minutes. Hopefully it will be you. A very big thank you to Dale and the crew at Quiznos for being part of the Valley Talk family here on KGAL. And it's Taste on Us. Sharon Konopa, Mayor of Albany, in the studio, and Hasso Herring as well. Thank you for being with us in Valley Talk today as we're talking about Albany and the future. And Hasso.
Mayor, over your years in public office, you've made quite an effort in regard to homelessness in Albany. You were instrumental in shutting down some years ago Camp Boondoggle, if I remember. But it seems as though homelessness has really not gotten any less around here. And now you see a good number of beggars, it seems, panhandlers or people sitting on street corners asking for money. What's your take on what is going on there, and what, if anything, could the city do about it?
Mm-hmm. Well, with the homeless numbers, actually they have decreased, mostly considering the economy. You would think that we would really have them increasing, but we've had a very assertive effort in our community of really serving the homeless and trying to focus on getting them into housing and not maintaining their homelessness. So we have had great efforts in Albany. Some of the panhandlers that we see in the community, some are not homeless, so that is their way of life. The main message is do not give money to panhandlers because you're continuing their homelessness. And if you would like to contribute, give that to our local agencies and our shelter. That is, to me, a main message that always needs to be out there to the community. The city cannot prevent somebody from panhandling. As you know, it's freedom of speech. So what we try to do is if they are being a kind of a public nuisance or a distraction in a certain area or making a mess like we did underneath by the train station under the overpass, is we were able to get them out from sleeping up underneath the overpass. We have another area that we've been working on. The police department's been there quite frequently, is over on the other side of the viaduct, close to Swanson Park, underneath that overpass. They have continually been going in there cleaning out some camps. We don't have the tent camps like we used to, because that is something that we are very, stay on top of. Whenever there's a new tent camp that pops up in Albany, we kind of rely on citizens to let us know about it. We will get out there and we will, work with the homeless, get them off to the shelter and not continue a tent camp. Tent camping is not a solution to a person's homelessness, so that just continues it. They need to work with the shelter. Our shelter does a great job in working with the homeless, trying to get them into jobs and housing.
Is it possible to cite some sort of a success rate of people who have entered shelter programs or other kinds of programs and gotten out of this homelessness? For example, I know that the Veterans Administration is making some kind of an effort to reach out to people who are living under bridges or in other circumstances who are veterans and for one reason or another haven't been able to manage their life in any other way. Mm-hmm. Do you know anything about the results of those kinds of programs?
We haven't kept the actual numbers. We're right now just finalized updating our 10-year homeless plan for Lynn County. So I've been on a part of getting that updated. So, and where we're kind of having the gaps and needs that we still need to be able to fill. But we have the Helping Hands Homeless Shelter would kind of have the numbers of how many people that they have got into housing. I'm with Albany Partnership for Housing Community Development. We have the Life Skills Housing Program, so we bring folks in from the shelter. But in order to get subsidized housing, we require them to follow the programs. And that would be as if they need money management classes, or if they need to have behavioral management, they need to further their education, learn new job skills. They have to follow that program. And that is something that's really is needed more throughout the state, is supportive services that would build more life skills for someone to become more self-reliant. But we've had great efforts that take place, but having the actual numbers is I think Helping Hands might have the actual numbers that they've had success rate on.
Well, another issue altogether. Albany has had a Human Relations Commission for, I think, roughly almost 10 years, I think now. It grew out of efforts to integrate minorities in the community, in community life in some sort of way. Can you point to any successes on that front?
Human Relations Commission, I've seen a lot more activity with them the last couple years. So I think at first it was really trying to identify what this commission was going to be working on. So I noticed their next agenda item is really has a full plate, and they've really trying to get out there to get more of the populations, let's say the Hispanic population, more engaged in the community. I think that's probably a very challenging piece, but I think they're working on, of how to be able to get them more engaged.
What are your own views on that, Mayor? I mean, Albany has a population of roughly 10% of Hispanic ethnicity. And, if you go to city council meetings, for example, regularly, as you have done for many years, and I have too, you really don't see hardly anybody from that group ever showing up. Is there something that the city government could do to reach out to make people interested in what goes on in the city and community life and public life in general and running for office, that sort of thing?
Well, usually what we kind of see who kind of comes to our council meetings is people kind of have, an issue with the city or something, but mostly when things are going great that we don't see people showing up. So maybe I'm hoping the Hispanic population is pleased in what we're doing in Albany. So I do see quite a bit of the folks. I do run into them. They love the activities we have with the city. They love the amenities we have, and I don't ever hear any kind of complaints over city government. So evidently, I'm hoping we're doing things right. But no, I do wish we can get them more involved, and I do think the Human Relations Commission, we do have some folks there that are with the Hispanic population that they are trying to get more engaged. There is another person in the community that I have met that I've got on to an Albany Partnership Board who's really good with connecting in with the Hispanic population too. So, and he wants to get more active.
And we're going to have to take a break here. We're running just a couple of minutes behind. This is Valley Talk, and we'll be back with our conversation with Mayor Sharon Konopa, the City of Albany. Hasso Herring in the studio with us here. I'm Dave Adams. This is Valley Talk, and we will be right back.
When you look out across Willamette Valley, you'll see plenty of banking choices. But we're here to give you an option that's pretty unique, like no other, in fact. Hi, I'm Dave Wood, President and CEO of Willamette Community Bank. We provide an alternative to large national and regional banks by offering customized financial services and local decision-making to benefit local people, local families, and local businesses. How many banks can say that? Willamette Community Bank, service like no other, we promise. Member FDIC.
It's all happening in downtown Albany.
The quaint little shop with inventory from the Victorian era to modern times is going to close December 24th. Timeless Treasures has everything on sale. You better go in now for great closing prices of furniture, displays, and timeless pieces. Timeless Treasures is at 421 West 1st.
Historic Albany has plenty to offer visitors and local Mid-Valley families. There's always something to do. You just have to know where to go. The Albany Visitors Association can help you find that unique experience of Albany and the surrounding area any time of year. So check out the AVA at 3rd and Lion.
Visiting Angels care every day in every way. Their home care agencies send caring and experienced caregivers that provide up to 24-hour care in the comfort of your own home. Call Visiting Angels in downtown Albany at 928-2061. That's 928-2061.
It's all happening in downtown Albany.
Now you can manage your printers as easy as you manage your copiers. Managed print services from Ultrex. Maintenance, toner cartridges, and repairs, all in just one monthly payment. Hewlett-Packard, Lexmark, Brother, just to name a few. All you have to do is buy the paper. It's that easy. Just call Ultrex today and ask about their managed print services. Ultrex Business Solutions, your locally owned and operated copier company, proudly supporting our community. Ultrex Business Solutions.
If you own or manage a business, you know you need control of your transportation costs. PetroCard is more than just fuel, offering card lock, mobile fueling, unbranded and branded fueling programs and lubricants. PetroCard is the largest independent franchise of Pacific Pride, owning over 65 convenient locations throughout Oregon and Washington. PetroCard has over 30 years' experience in the petroleum industry, providing detailed reporting, competitive prices, and reduced paperwork from one vehicle to a fleet of trucks. You'll save time, money, and be able to manage your fuel and lubricant programs more effectively. With the automatic fueling system from Pacific Pride, you'll get 24-hour access to gas and diesel at thousands of Pacific Pride locations throughout the U.S., some complete with showers. Get control of your transportation costs now. Call PetroCard at 1-800-4FUEL. That's 1-800-367-3835. PetroCard is more than just fuel. If it happens overnight, Eric and Gary have it live during Red Eye Radio on Smart Talk 1580 KGAL.
This is Valley Talk again. Mayor Sharon Konopa, City of Albany. Hasso Herring with us here in the studio. This is Valley Talk. You've got a few minutes left to sign up for Quiznos Taste on Us. Again, Dave at KGAL.com, the email, or 926 or 451 KGAL. Get your submissions in now. Hasso, is there anything that you have to follow up on?
Yes, Mayor, as you know, the legislative session is coming up in a couple of months. Is there anything that the city of Albany particularly, or cities in general, is there anything that cities want from the legislature next year?
We did go through a list, and there really was not a whole lot for us to be focusing on. And kind of the main thing we were looking at was dealing with tax compression and seeing if there is something that can be done with tax compression. And I don't know if that ended up being as a priority with League of Oregon Cities. They're the ones that kind of do the lobbying for all cities at the legislative level.
Well, let me ask it in a more personal way. What is it that you, Mayor of Albany, want from the legislature next year?
Actually, I haven't really thought about any of it right now. So
there's really no point in them meeting if they don't, have anything to do that we want them to do.
Right. Actually, there probably is. It's like after trying to get through all the stuff with the elections and trying to be focused on ballot measures, I know we'll be finding something and meet with our local legislators and let them know. So right off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that we're needing. I do know one thing with ballot measures, though, that is where you can't contest a ballot measure until it has been passed by the voters. It's like, to me, going through all that process, the expense of an election is really unfortunate. It'd be nice if the state could somehow do changes to that a ballot measure has to be totally valid before it can be brought to the voters.
There's a process that has been suggested from time to time, some sort of a review commission that would submit proposed ballot measures to the legislature, and the legislature then would have the option of adopting those and saving people the expense and the time and the trouble of gathering signatures and holding an election. And then if the legislature refuses to do that, then the initiative process would continue. Is that what you have in mind?
Something, but at least to make sure that measure is legal and constitutional. So before it goes to the voters, if it can somehow go through the legal process of making sure it is, because I'm almost guaranteed that the limit city debt one will not be a constitutional
And why is
measure
that?
Because of that debt defined piece to it. So
because of definition of what debt is and to quantify that.
But we can't contest it until it's been approved by the voters.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you, Mayor Sharon Konopa and Hasso Herring, for being with us on Valley Talk today. We're coming to the end of the show. Do want to remind you we're going to be at Novak's Restaurant tomorrow. Thank you to them for offering, once again, for 20 years they've done this, offering free meal to the community, especially now when there's a lot of people facing difficult times. You're seeing a lot of folks, families there. 400 they fed last year. They're expecting more this year. They're full up on registrations for their noon meal, but they're having another serving tomorrow at 1. You can register now or put your name in, and they will be feeding people as long as they come in. We'll be there tomorrow live, KGAL.com, KShow.net, and the JesusNetwork.net. I'm Dave Adams, Valley Talk. Have a good holiday.
Serving the Mid-Valley for over 50 years. You're listening to News Talk 1580 KGAL, Lebanon, Albany, Corvallis.